The Thing wasn't just another creature feature. It was a box office disaster that critics called instant junk. The 22-year-old effects creator was hospitalized with pneumonia and a bleeding ulcer.
One of the crucial decisions we had to make was on the special effects.
The legendary composer was nominated for a Razzie Award. The film was banned in Finland, and the happy ending Carpenter filmed was never shown to audiences. Here's what most viewers don't realize about John Carpenter's The Thing. E.T. destroyed The Thing at box office. The Thing opened June 25, 1982, on the exact same day as Blade Runner. Both films bombed spectacularly. The Thing earned just $3.1 million its opening weekend, finishing 8th place behind Poltergeist, which was already in its 4th week. The reason was simple. 2 weeks earlier, Steven Spielberg had released E.T. the Extraterrestrial. Audiences wanted a lovable alien phoning home, not a parasitic monster biting people's arms off. E.T. grossed $619 million worldwide. The Thing made $19.6 million against its $15 million budget. Carpenter later said, 2 weeks before our movie comes out, they released this other movie called E.T. The movie was hated. The timing destroyed any chance of success. Critics called it the most hated movie. The critical reception was savagely hostile. The New York Times called it foolish, depressing instant junk. Roger Ebert dismissed it as a great barf bag movie. Time magazine called it an exercise in abstract art. The horror magazine Cinefantastique ran a cover asking, "Is this the most hated movie of all time?" Starlog critic Alan Spencer wrote, "John Carpenter's The Thing smells, and smells pretty bad. Here's some things he'd be better suited to direct: traffic accidents, train wrecks, and public floggings." Even Christian Nyby, director of the 1951 original The Thing from Another World, publicly criticized Carpenter's remake. The piling on was relentless and career-damaging. Universal punished Carpenter by canceling deals. The failure had severe consequences for John Carpenter's career. Universal Pictures canceled a multi-picture deal with the director immediately after The Thing bombed. Carpenter lost multiple projects because studios no longer trusted him with major budgets. He called it the hardest failure of his career, saying, "I take every failure hard. The one I took the hardest was The Thing."
The critics well, yes, I do. 5 minutes is all I ask, and then I'll be happy.
My career would have been different if that had been a big hit. He was stunned that even science fiction fans rejected the film, feeling he'd betrayed their trust. The studio punishment was swift and brutal. It would take years of home video success before Hollywood forgave him. Rob Bottin hospitalized after 57 weeks. Effects creator Rob Bottin was only 22 years old when hired to design the creature effects.
And I was about 20 years old when I did that. I finished up the project when I was 21.
He worked 7 days a week for 57 consecutive weeks without a single day off. Bottin literally lived at the studio, sleeping only a few hours each night to meet the ambitious deadlines. He personally handled the most difficult tasks rather than delegating them. The physical toll was catastrophic. After filming wrapped, Bottin checked himself into the hospital for 2 weeks, suffering from double pneumonia, a bleeding ulcer, and complete physical exhaustion. All symptoms were directly caused by stress and overwork. The effects budget ballooned from $200,000 to $1.5 million. Bottin eventually hired Stan Winston to help with the dog transformation scene because he simply couldn't continue at that pace. Ennio Morricone nominated for Razzie Award. Legendary composer Ennio Morricone received a Razzie nomination for Worst Musical Score. The Golden Raspberry Awards targeted Morricone despite his reputation for masterpieces like The Good, The Bad, and The Ugly. It was actually his second Razzie nomination that year, the other for Butterfly. Critics felt the minimalist electronic score was too sparse and didn't match Morricone's usual orchestral grandeur. The irony is devastating. Carpenter specifically hired Morricone to create a European-style score, then told him, use less notes. Morricone composed the music mimicking Carpenter's own synthesizer style. Decades later, unused tracks from The Thing score were featured in Quentin Tarantino's The Hateful Eight, winning Morricone his first Oscar at age 87. The Razzies got it catastrophically wrong. Filmed happy ending. Never Screened Carpenter filmed an alternate happy ending purely as insurance against studio interference. The scene showed MacReady rescued at McMurdo Station, the largest research facility in Antarctica. A doctor administers a blood test proving MacReady is definitely human, not infected by the Thing. The creature was beaten. Humanity survived. Editor Todd Ramsey suggested filming the scene while they still had Kurt Russell available, just in case Universal demanded a less nihilistic conclusion. Carpenter agreed, but never intended to use it. He didn't even screen the happy ending for Universal executives. The scene has never been officially released on any home video format. Carpenter felt the ambiguous, hopeless ending was essential to the film's meaning. Banned and heavily censored in Finland. The Thing was originally banned outright when released in 1982. Censors eventually allowed a heavily censored version to receive the K-18 rating for adults only. The cuts were extensive and brutal. The dog transformation scene was drastically shortened. The iconic moment where Norris's chest opens and bites off Dr. Copper's hands was cut entirely, removing the hand severing while keeping only the chest opening. Shots of the severed head with spider legs were completely deleted. The blood test scene where Palmer transforms was shortened to remove graphic details. The burning of windows was trimmed. Finnish audiences saw a significantly gutted version that removed the film's most shocking and memorable effects sequences. The censorship destroyed the impact Bottin worked 57 weeks to create. Destroyed real camp for Norwegian scenes. The Norwegian camp scenes were filmed using the actual destroyed American base after the climactic explosion. Production built the American research station on location and actually blew it up using real explosives for the finale. 7 cameras captured the destruction while camera assistants stood inside the set with remotely activated explosives, then had to run to safety. Once the base was destroyed, Carpenter simply reused the burnt skeletal ruins as the Norwegian camp, saving $250,000. The charred wreckage seen at the film's beginning is the same set that gets destroyed at the end. This practical decision created perfect continuity between both camps' destruction. Bill Lancaster wrote script, despite zero experience. Screenwriter Bill Lancaster had only written 2 movies before The Thing, The Bad News Bears and The Bad News Bears Go to Japan. Carpenter loved The Bad News Bears and thought Lancaster could bring humanity to the bleak material. Lancaster's best idea was the blood test sequence where MacReady tests everyone's blood to identify the Thing. Carpenter loved this concept so much it solidified his commitment to direct the film. The project went through multiple writers first, including Tobe Hooper, David Wiltz, William F. Nolan, Derek Washburn, Nigel Neal, and horror author Richard Matheson. All failed to crack the story. Lancaster, the comedy writer, somehow nailed the paranoid horror screenplay on his first attempt at the genre. Budget exploded from 10 to 15 million. Universal initially gave The Thing a $10 million budget with just $200,000 allocated for creature effects. After seeing the extensive storyboards created by artists Mike Plug and Mentor Hubner, Universal realized the scope was far more ambitious than anticipated. The studio increased the total budget to $15 million. They also raised the effects budget from $200,000 to $750,000 after seeing Rob Bottin's crew of over 40 illustrators, designers, sculptors, painters, and mechanical technicians. Even this wasn't enough. The effects budget eventually exceeded $1.5 million, forcing elimination of several planned creature scenes, including Knowles confronting the box thing. Carpenter begged Ned Tannen for final money. By the end of production, the budget was completely exhausted. Carpenter had to make a personal appeal to Universal executive Ned Tannen for an additional $100,000 just to complete a simplified version of the Blair Thing creature for the finale. The full-size Blair Thing puppet required 63 technicians operating it simultaneously, pulling cables, manipulating hand puppets, and tugging monofilament lines. Stop-motion animator Ernie Farino spent nearly 2 months constructing the puppet armature for an extended Blair Thing sequence. Carpenter eventually cut the stop-motion footage, deciding the jerky animation didn't match the film's realistic practical effects. The final cost reached $12.4 million, before overhead brought it to $15 million. Used refrigerated sets in 100-degree heat. Principal photography took place on refrigerated sound stages in Los Angeles, where outside temperatures exceeded 100 degrees Fahrenheit. Production couldn't find an existing refrigerated structure large enough for the sets, so they collected every portable air conditioner available, sealed off the stage, and used humidifiers and misters to add moisture. The internal temperature was maintained at 28 degrees Fahrenheit to make the actor's breath visible and preserve the frozen atmosphere. The contrast was brutal for cast and crew, constantly moving between 100-degree heat outside and sub-freezing conditions inside. Filming lasted roughly 12 weeks beginning August 1981. Additional location shooting took place in Juneau, Alaska, and Stewart, British Columbia, where real snow was guaranteed. Wilford Brimley injured his hand. During filming, Wilford Brimley, who played Blair, injured his left hand early in production. Rather than delay filming, he wore a surgical glove beneath a black glove painted to match his skin tone. His left hand is completely hidden for the first half of the film. Stunt coordinator Dick Warlock stood in for Brimley in several scenes involving the Blair character. Warlock also made multiple cameos throughout the film, including appearing as the shadow on the wall when the dog thing enters the living quarters. Director of photography Dean Cundy carefully framed shots to hide Brimley's injured hand until it healed enough to appear on camera again. Ingredients included mayonnaise and bubble gum. The creature effects used an extensive list of everyday food products and household items. Rob Bottin's team created the gore using heated bubble gum, strawberry jam, mayonnaise, creamed corn, gelatin, and food thickener. The techniques were equally varied, combining hand puppets, marionettes, reverse filming, radio controls, wires, hydraulics, and pull cables. Bottin said, "If you named it, we used it." The film employed every conceivable special effect technique known at the time. For the dog kennel transformation, makeup artist Lance Anderson wore a blood squib suit that ejected fake blood on cue. The massive viscera beneath the dog creature was textured with mayonnaise, melted bubble gum, and generous amounts of KY jelly. No CGI blood existed in 1982. Carpenter rewrote completed scenes. During editing, after watching a rough assembly of footage, Carpenter was unhappy the film contained too many scenes of men standing around talking. He rewrote already completed interior scenes to take place outdoors and shot them on location in Stewart, British Columbia. This decision created visual variety and reduced the claustrophobic feeling of endless dialogue in the same rooms. Carpenter and editor Todd Ramsey cut any moment or dialogue exchange that didn't directly advance the plot. Entire character development scenes were eliminated to maintain tension. The focus shifted entirely to survival and paranoia. This brutal editing transformed the film from a character study into a relentless thriller. Though critics complained the characters felt underdeveloped as a result, became British Antarctic tradition. Despite its catastrophic 1982 reception, The Thing eventually found its audience through home video and television. It's now considered one of the greatest horror films ever made. The film ranked number 289 on Empire magazine's 500 greatest movies of all time. It has become a tradition in British Antarctic research stations to watch The Thing as part of their midwinter feast and celebration held every June 21st. The film's themes of isolation, paranoia, and survival in frozen conditions resonate deeply with researchers spending months in Antarctica. John Carpenter has stated that of all his films, The Thing is his personal favorite. The critics were catastrophically wrong. From instant junk to instant classic. From box office disaster to Antarctic tradition. The Thing proves that initial failure means nothing when the work is brilliant. Sometimes audiences and critics simply aren't ready. If you enjoyed learning these behind-the-scenes secrets, subscribe for more deep dives into the films everyone got wrong. What other critically panned masterpiece should we investigate next? Let us know in the comments.